Welcome back to Werebadger Studio, and my next piece of insanity that was never meant for public consumption. However, when I finished it, inspired me enough that, yeah, you know what, I think the rest of the world deserves to see some of this. The theme for this one is locked doors, and using just a random miniature that I had found laying around. I believe it's from the TitanForge Patreon, the month they did Vampire Hunters, I believe they called it. Anyway, my idea was to do something I haven't done in, I don't think, ever, which is build a proper no shit diorama. So to that end, I just started hacking away, creating some bricks, creating what I hoped would be an interesting sewer that I could fill with various bits and pieces. These are just going to get super glued on and pushed into position. So after a while, tried a couple different designs, used a few templates for this wall and this kind of locked gate. So shaping it went pretty smoothly. Made myself a little template for the gate. I just used that to cut it out, shape it in, and then just went in with a knife, started hacking out chunks of it. Wanted a big, impressive, very gothic archway, if you will, pseudo rundown gothic, something that wouldn't be out of place in Yharnam itself. Instead of that end, cut out the gate, and then eventually decided to put two support pillars on each side. Here it did get a bit lazy and didn't cut the finish off of the XPS foam, which is something I still regret not doing at this point. Here you can see how the two pieces are going to go together. So a little while later, I had to do a different type of setup for the drain when I accidentally cracked the piece that was supposed to go on top. So we're just going to do a kind of classic tiling work and then just a mixture of various different ground covers. Just working that in there, working in that grime. The idea is this is an unkept area. Getting in there with the black paint just to get myself a nice base. Since the entire theme here was going to be working with the colors of Moonlight, and got started on actually putting some color into it. So going in with just a straight up gray, this will form the base tone, hitting everything with that. And since I never was intending for this project to actually be public, I don't have all the footage of it everything being painted. So a short time later, finished off that, gave it a couple of give it a very simple paint job. A light gray on top of the base gray, then a tan, then a white. And then washed it with some blue, blacks, and browns. So getting started with the door, went in with just an oak brown, just to give it a quick base coat. Unfortunately, this is a really bad brown paint that has pretty poor coverage. Doubly so with this popsicle stick material on the ball. So either way, ended up eventually getting this done. Dry brushing, starting with a desert yellow tan. It was a yellow tan. and then just constantly kind of test fitting it, sliding it into the piece to make sure it's going to fit. More or less fits in at this point. All right, so then I started what's been the first time I've done OSL lighting in a long time and on a piece of this size. So I go in with a slightly off-white color just to lay in the base of where I'm going to paint the lantern light. And then since this was never meant to be shared, I ended up finishing it off. And here we are now, prime the hunter in white. And just try to stage her where I think I'm going to end up putting her eventually. And just kind of figure out where my light sources are coming from. Fortunately, there is no footage of her being painted, but at this point, painting station and then give it a full-on paint job. A while after finishing all of this, I needed more. I needed more of the base. I had originally intended there to be a second figure here to kind of create a dramatic combat scene about to erupt. And I didn't do it. Like an idiot. So I had to go back sometime later, add in some of this rubble, and then get that based in there with grays and try to work it in. Not the easiest way. The sewer was created using probably 20, 30 different skulls and a mixture of Sculptamold as a base to kind of hold everything in place, and then filled with a couple different layers of resin and just no shit tea leaves from old bags I had broken open to create just kind of a floatsman and just general debris floating inside. 3D printers, excellent idea here, especially if you need a lot of skulls. It probably only cost me, I want to say no more than 10 cents to print out a variety of skulls in different shapes, different types of wounds. Some have been staked, have holes in them, and just shove them all in. And there we have it, the guarded doorway, all done. A pretty interesting project, all things considered. Uh, went through a number of iterations and did not end up where I thought it was going to end up. Wasn't intending to do the object source lighting originally. It's been a hell of a long time since I've even tried that. But I think it came out all right. It comes out a lot more dramatically when you start to play with the filter settings and do a little bit of post-processing on it. So what went right? What went wrong? What went right? The setup of it was a good composition. It wasn't too ambitious, all things considered. If anything, it could have been more ambitious. The sewer area, I'm especially proud of. I'm very much coming to understand how to work with resin on the miniature level. It came out just as filthy, and definitely the 3D printer was a good investment on this one. All those skulls would have cost me just a ridiculous amount of money, and I wouldn't have been able to get as many different varieties for nearly the price point. The bad DOSL is not good in this piece. Just end of story. The hunter herself, not my best paint job. I realized a little too late that it's supposed to be a take on Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood mixed with Buffy. Not my best, not the best paint job in the world. It's serviceable. It's too highlighted for one. The door, I like the idea behind the door. Should have gone with either something lit behind it, maybe like a tea light or something, or done maybe like a tentacle of some eldritch being trying to reach through and pull itself out. Final thoughts. Not a bad attempt. As far as a diorama goes and a one-off piece, not bad. Definitely might use it for inspiration for a more ruined kind of gothic horror set of terrain, maybe. I think it definitely captures the spirit of Bloodborne and the subdued palette of the game. It definitely needs more organic elements. So I hope you at least found this somewhat interesting. Like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. I believe coming up next, it will be a attempt to create something of a, much like this one, a display board of sorts for some hell-themed models that, between you and me, interesting outcome. Yes. Stay tuned for more on that one.